Pick your lane. I want to talk to you today about one of the most important decisions you'll make when you're building a new practice. And it's not what you might expect. It's not your business entity. It's not your EHR. It's not your office lease. It's this. What kind of patients are you going to serve? And what are you going to be the best in your market at doing for them? That's what I call picking your lane. If you get this right early, everything else becomes a lot easier. If you skip it, try to be everything to everyone right out of the gate, you'll spread yourself thin, you'll undercharge, and you'll burn out. I've been practicing functional integrative medicine for over 20 years. I've opened 5 clinics, and the biggest mistake I see new providers make is trying to do too much at once. So today we're going to talk about how to pick a lane, what some of the best lanes look like right now, and how to become the go-to provider in that space faster than you probably think is possible. Here's the situation most of you are coming from. You've been in traditional medicine, family practice, urgent care, hospital system, maybe a busy clinic as an ARNP. You're seeing 20, 25 patients a day. You're burning out, and you're taking home less than you expected given the hours you're putting in. You know there's a better way. You've heard about cash pay practices, functional medicine, integrative care. You're convinced the model can work, but when you look at what's actually involved, the testing, protocols, education, marketing, it feels like you need 10 years of training before you could even open your doors. I'm here to tell you that's not true. But here's the catch. You can't learn it all at once. You have to pick one area, go deep in it, become genuinely good at it, and build your patient base around that. Then you add. You don't need to know everything. You need to know one thing well enough to be genuinely competent and deliver results that most conventional providers simply aren't trained to offer. That's the lane. In a larger market, there may be other providers doing similar work, but you'll be doing something that the vast majority of traditional practices don't do at all, and doing it better than most. That's a meaningful, competitive position, and it's enough to build a strong practice on. Let me walk you through the lanes I'd seriously consider if I were starting over today. These aren't exhaustive, but they're the ones with the clearest patient demand, the most accessible training, and the strongest potential for a subscription or a package-based pricing model. Hormone replacement therapy. This is one of the most underserved areas in all of medicine. The standard of care for hormones in most conventional practices is generally poor. Providers aren't using bioidentical hormones. They're not doing tissue level testing. They're not balancing the full picture. When you do it right, Dutch testing, saliva panels, careful monitoring of both men and women, patients feel dramatically better. And when patients feel dramatically better, they tell people. You don't need a big marketing budget. You need results. Men with low testosterone are one of the largest underserved populations in outpatient medicine right now. I've had lots of patients come in with levels around 300 and a spouse who's not happy. Get them to the healthy range, 8 to 900, and you've changed that household. Those patients stay, they refer, and they pay. Weight loss and metabolic health. GLP-1 therapy has been one of the biggest shifts in medicine in the past decade. I know because I've used it myself, lost 30 to 40 pounds, and it wasn't a struggle. The demand for medically supervised weight management is enormous and still growing. But the real opportunity in this lane isn't just prescribing semaglutide. It's building a complete metabolic health program, labs monitoring, nutrition, lifestyle, supplementation with a membership structure. Patients who are serious about their weight and their metabolic health will pay for ongoing access to a provider who actually manages the whole picture. Joint repair and regenerative orthopedics. Here's something most patients and most providers don't know. A lot of joints that are being replaced don't need to be replaced. They need to be repaired. That's the middle ground the conventional orthopedics doesn't occupy, and it's wide open. Prolozone is the foundation of this lane. You're injecting a small amount of ozone, we're talking 50 parts per million, not industrial concentrations, directly into the joint. What happens is the ozone converts into oxygen, releases energy, and signals the body to restart the healing process. Cells that have essentially gone dormant Wake up. When you layer in placenta extracts, exosomes, or growth factors alongside that, you start feeding the joint the raw materials it needs to rebuild cartilage. Even joints that are bone on bone in places, if there's some existing cartilage remaining, you can often grow it and repair it. I had a patient coming in dragging his left leg. His left knee was essentially non-functional. He didn't want surgery. We did a full course, prolozone, placenta extracts, exosomes. He had a full recovery. On weekends, he was hiking around the base of Mount Rainier with a full pack. His total cost was well under what a knee replacement would have run, and he kept his knee. Those patients don't stay quiet. They tell everybody, and the word of mouth from a result like that builds a practice faster than any marketing campaign. You can learn to treat hips, knees, ankles, shoulders, elbows, hands, and backs completely in a focused weekend training. Prolozone alone produces good results. Added regenerative biological produces remarkable ones. Anti-aging and longevity medicine. This is the broadest lane, most lucrative, and ultimately where most functional medicines practices end up. But it's not where you should start. Anti-aging medicine is what you add after you've got the foundation. The 4M conference in Las Vegas every December is probably the best place to get a fast, credible education in this space. There are interim conferences throughout the year as well. The patients who come to you for anti-aging are some of the most motivated, most compliant, and most financially capable patients you'll ever work with. They already believe in what you're doing. They're not asking whether functional medicine works. They're asking who does it best. The allergy treatment. This is underappreciated, a small niche. Honestly, one of the most practical lanes for a new provider to add early. Low-dose allergy immunotherapy, LDA, is remarkably straightforward to learn and deliver the results that patients can't get anywhere else. Here's what makes it different from conventional allergy practice. You don't need skin testing for inhalants. There's a single inhalant mix that covers essentially the entire United States. Grasses, trees, molds, dust, animal dander, everything. One serum. You also have a similar food allergy serum and a separate chemical sensitivity serum. The system is designed to be simple enough that a provider without an allergy background can learn it and deliver it competently. The patient population is enormous. Chronic allergies, sinusitis, asthma, eczema, food reaction. These are patients who have often been through the conventional allergy system and haven't got enough relief. When LDA works, patients notice, and it works most of the time. If allergy fits your market and your interest, this lane is where the barrier to entry is low and the patient demand is high. There are some areas I'd steer you away from as a starting point, not because they're not valuable, but because they require a level of clinical experience that takes years to develop. Mold toxicity, chemical sensitivity syndrome, chronic COVID, autoimmune disease, cancer support. These are patients who deserve a provider who genuinely knows what they're doing. And getting there takes time, real time. Mold toxicity is a good example. It sounds like it might be adjacent to the allergy lane, and superficially it is. But clinical complexity is in the completely different category. You're dealing with biotoxin illness, CI, neurological involvement, multi-system dysfunction. Patients are often severely ill and have been failed by multiple providers before they reach you. This is not a patient population to learn on. The honest truth about complex patients is this. To do right by them, you need 10 to 15 years of experience and training. That's not an exaggeration. I spent that long learning the knowledge base to handle the most complex of cases that came through my practice, learning from the best specialists I could find, one area at a time, over the course of my career. You're not going to compress that into a weekend workshop. I love these patients. They were among the most rewarding when you can make a difference. But the reason to wait isn't financial, it's competence. You owe it to them to be ready before you take them on. Start where you get wins, build your skills, your confidence, and your reputation. The complex patients will still be there when you're ready for them, and you'll serve them far better for having waited. Here's the part that surprises most people. In any one of the lanes I've just recommended, You can acquire the core clinical competency in a matter of weeks, not years, weeks. I built my knowledge over 15 to 20 years because I was building it parallel to running a full practice, learning from the best specialists I could find one area at a time. You don't have to do it that way. The training infrastructure is now enormously better than it was when I started. Conferences, online programs, hands-on workshops. You can compress what took me a decade into a very focused few months if you pick one lane and go all in. The key word is one. Don't try to become competent in hormones, joint repair, longevity medicine simultaneously. Pick the lane that fits your interests, your existing skills, and your target patient population, and go become genuinely excellent at it, then expand. A few questions worth sitting with. First, what kind of patient do you actually want to spend your days with? Someone working through hormonal balance is a very different conversation than someone going in for joint injections. Neither is better, but one will feel more like you. Second, what's the unmet need in your market? You don't need to do a formal market analysis. Ask yourself, what are people in your area driving out of town for? What are patients telling their primary care doctor that they can't get locally? That's the gap. That's your opportunity. Third, what are your existing strengths? If you spent years in orthopedics or sports medicine, the regenerative joint lane has a short learning curve for you. You've done a lot of women's health, hormones is the natural extension. Meet the learning curve where it's lowest and the interest is highest. And fourth, which lane can support a membership or a package model? We're going to talk about pricing in the next video, but I'll plant the seed now. The practices that generate the best income with the best lifestyle are not fee for service. They're structured around recurring revenue. The lane you pick needs to support that model. Most of the ones I've described do if you design the offering correctly. Here's what I want to leave you with. You don't have to have this all figured out before you start. You need one lane, one patient type, and enough training to be genuinely useful to them. Everything else is built from there. The providers who get this right don't end up with a job, they end up with a practice, something that generates real income, real relationships, and real flexibility, something that doesn't fall apart the moment they take a vacation or get sick. In the next video, we're going to talk about the thing that makes all of this financially viable, how to price what you do when you're not billing insurance, how to move from fee for service to a model that actually rewards the quality of your care instead of the volume of your visits. If you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss. I'm Dr. Stephen Smith, and this is Start My Practice.